My fiance's family secretly sold my house. So I kicked her out and canceled the wedding. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and a few months ago, I thought my life was pretty solid. I had a house I worked hard to buy, a fiancé I thought I loved, and a future I was genuinely excited about. Turns out, I was wrong about a lot of things, especially about the person I was planning to marry. I bought my house about 5 years ago. It's nothing huge or fancy, but it's mine. I worked overtime shifts, skipped vacations, and lived off ramen for years to save enough for it. It was a proud moment when I finally had the keys in my hand. When Jody, my fiancée, moved in 2 years ago, it felt like we were taking a big step forward. She didn't contribute to the house, financially at least, but I didn't mind. I figured I had it covered, and we split other expenses like groceries and smaller bills. Jody came from a very different background. Her family was always struggling with money. They were the type to max out credit cards and then complain about how unfair the system was. I sympathized with them at first. Everyone has their own challenges, and I figured if I could help out here and there, it wouldn't hurt. But over time, little comments started adding up. Her mom once joked about how lucky Jody was to have landed someone with a house. Her dad hinted about how great it would be to retire without a mortgage. Stuff like that. I brushed it off as harmless chatter. But looking back, I should have seen where this was going. A couple of months before everything blew up, Jody started acting weird. She was on her phone a lot, whispering during calls, and snapping at me over the smallest things. I figured it was stress from wedding planning. We were supposed to get married next summer, and I know that could be overwhelming. I didn't push her about it because I thought giving her space was the right thing to do. Then one day, I got this weird packet in the mail. It was from a real estate agency, and it had all these details about the sale of my house. At first, I thought it was some kind of scam, but then I noticed the photos. It was definitely my house, down to the furniture in the living room. There was even a proposed closing date. I didn't understand what the hell was going on, so I asked Jody about it that night. When I brought it up, her face went pale. She stammered something about exploring options for us to move into a bigger house after the wedding. She said she wanted it to be a surprise. That didn't make sense to me. If we were going to move, why wouldn't she talk to me first? It didn't sit right, so after she went to bed, I stayed up and started digging. The next day, I called the real estate agency. I pretended to be Jody's assistant and asked about the sale. What they told me made my head spin. Jody had listed the house for sale without my knowledge. Not only that, but she had already signed documents pretending to be me. She told them she was a co-owner, which was a complete lie, and had secured a cash buyer. The sale was set to close in 2 weeks. I asked why she was in such a rush to sell, and that's when the final piece of the puzzle dropped. The agent said Jody mentioned needing the money urgently to help with family obligations. I sat there in disbelief. I knew Jody's parents were in deep financial trouble. They were on the verge of losing their house. It all made sense now. She was planning to use the money from my house to pay off their mortgage. That night, I confronted her. I printed out every document I had and laid them out on the dining table. When she came home, I asked her to sit down. She looked at the papers and froze. "What's this?" "This," I said, "is proof that you tried to sell my house behind my back. You lied about being a co-owner, signed papers pretending to be me, and planned to use the money to bail out your parents. What the hell were you thinking?" She immediately started crying. I didn't know what else to do. My parents are losing their house. I couldn't just stand by and watch them end up on the street. "So your solution was to steal from me? To sell my house without even telling me?" She said, sobbing, "I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how to bring it up. I thought you'd understand once everything was settled." "You thought I'd understand? Are you out of your mind? This is fraud, Jody. Do you even realize how illegal this is?" She switched from tears to anger in a split second. "You don't understand what it's like to grow up with nothing. You have so much and my parents have nothing. You're selfish. You could have helped them and still been fine." Selfish. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I worked my ass off for this house. Your parents' financial problems aren't my responsibility. And what you did isn't just wrong. It's unforgivable. The wedding's off, and I want you out of this house. You can't just throw me out, she screamed. I have nowhere to go, she burst into tears. That's not my problem anymore. You have 30 days to figure it out. And don't think for a second that I'm letting this slide legally. Her jaw dropped, and she stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The next day, I contacted a lawyer. They confirmed that what Jody did was fraud and I could press charges. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that far. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I needed to protect myself. Jody spent the next few days acting like nothing had happened. She'd cook dinner, try to chat with me about random things, and even brought up wedding plans once, as if I hadn't just called it off. I ignored her, focusing on securing my house and preparing for whatever mess was about to come. She didn't seem to understand that things were over. 2 weeks later, she moved out, taking a few suitcases with her. I thought it was finally done. Then, out of nowhere, mutual friends started messaging me, asking what had happened. Confused, I checked Facebook. Jody had posted a long, dramatic rant about how I had thrown her out, abandoned her, and cared more about money than her or her family. She claimed I was heartless and cruel, painting herself as the victim. I was furious but decided not to respond publicly. I messaged a few close friends privately, explaining the truth and sharing some of the evidence. Most of them believed me instantly. For the wider audience, I posted something short and neutral. Integrity and trust are the foundation of any relationship. When that's gone, there's nothing left to build on. It was enough to make people second-guess her story. A few days later, things escalated. I got an alert from my home security system while I was at work. The cameras showed Jody and her dad trying to break in through the back door. They were carrying bags like they planned to grab whatever they could and leave. I called the police immediately. When they arrived, Jody and her dad were still there, trying to jimmy the lock. They were detained on the spot. I pressed charges for trespassing, making it clear that I wasn't going to let this slide. Jody tried to act shocked, claiming she was just trying to retrieve things she'd left behind. But I knew better. She'd already taken everything during her move out. Not long after that, she pulled her boldest stunt yet. She called me, crying, and claimed she was pregnant with my child. She said she hadn't told me earlier because she was scared but now needed my support since she was all alone. I didn't believe her for a second. I stayed calm and told her that if she was pregnant, I'd step up and support the child. But I'd need a doctor's confirmation and a paternity test. She started stammering, saying she wasn't ready to prove anything yet and that I needed to take her word for it. I told her I wasn't going to play games and hung up. That was the last I heard about her so-called pregnancy. The final blow came a few weeks later. I got a letter from a lawyer representing Jody and her parents. They accused me of causing emotional distress by breaking off the engagement and evicting her. They even claimed I owed Jody compensation for the years she lived in my house, arguing that she contributed to my life. The letter also demanded financial help for her parents, claiming that I'd benefited from their daughter's presence and should repay them for the relationship. I handed the letter to my lawyer, who wrote an airtight response. We laid out everything Jody had done, from the fraudulent sale attempt to the break-in, and made it clear that if they pursued legal action, I'd countersue for damages, legal fees, and defamation. That was the last I heard from them or their lawyer. It's been a few months now, and life is finally settling back to normal. My house feels like mine again, and I've upgraded my security system just in case. I've also reconnected with friends and hobbies I'd let slide during my relationship with Jody. It feels good to have my space and independence back. Looking back, I can't believe how blind I was to all the red flags. Jody and her family didn't see me as a person. They saw me as a solution to their problems. They thought they could manipulate and guilt me into giving them whatever they wanted. I'm just glad I caught on before the wedding. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that trust and respect are everything. Without them, there's no relationship worth saving. And if someone shows you who they are, especially if they show you entitlement, selfishness, or deceit, believe them. Now, I'm moving forward and I'm not looking back. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.